It was an ordinary afternoon at the Trump estate, the sun casting a golden glow over the sprawling property, when an unexpected event shattered the serenity. A man, disheveled and clad in tattered clothes, stumbled along the perimeter of the estate before collapsing at the edge of the driveway. His presence was as jarring as his sudden fall, a stark contrast to the manicured elegance of the surroundings. Barron Trump, 18 years old and poised yet compassionate, had been taking a quiet stroll near the gardens when he noticed the commotion. A gardener called out, alarmed, as staff members began to gather at a cautious distance, unsure how to respond. The man on the ground appeared frail, his face pale and etched with fatigue, as though life had taken every ounce of strength from him. "Get the security team," someone murmured. "He shouldn't be here." But Barron, standing tall yet approachable, raised a hand to halt the flurry of calls and commands. "Wait," he said firmly, his voice carrying an authority that silenced the murmurs. "He's not a threat. He needs help." The staff exchanged uneasy glances. "Sir," one of the security members began cautiously, "we can't be sure." "I'll handle it," Barron interjected. He approached the man without hesitation, kneeling beside him. His navy blazer and polished shoes contrasted sharply with the dirt-streaked figure before him, but Barron seemed oblivious to the disparity. "Sir, can you hear me?" he asked gently, his hand resting lightly on the man's shoulder. The man stirred, his eyes fluttering open. He looked at Barron with a mixture of confusion and fear, his cracked lips struggling to form words. "Water," he rasped. Barron immediately turned to the staff. "Bring water and a first aid kit," he instructed, "and call a doctor." But the head of security began again, his tone laden with concern. "No buts," Barron said, his gaze unwavering. "We help him." Minutes later, a bottle of water and a damp cloth were in Barron's hands. He carefully lifted the man's head, helping him drink. "You're safe now," he assured him. "Just rest." As the man began to recover, snippets of his story emerged. He was a veteran, displaced and struggling to survive. He hadn't eaten in days and had been walking aimlessly when his body gave out. The man's words were halting and broken, but Barron listened intently, his expression one of genuine concern. When the doctor arrived, Barron stayed by the man's side, ensuring he received proper care. He spoke with the staff afterward, instructing them to prepare a guest room for the stranger. Despite their initial hesitance, they followed his lead, inspired by his resolve. In the days that followed, Barron's actions rippled beyond the estate. News of his compassion spread, sparking conversations about the responsibility of privilege and the importance of empathy. For Barron, however, it wasn't about making headlines. It was about doing the right thing, extending a hand when others might turn away. The collapse of a stranger had become a testament to humanity's enduring capacity for kindness. The man was still recovering in the guest room of the Trump estate when Barron Trump, driven by curiosity and a sense of responsibility, decided to look through the meager belongings the stranger had carried with him. Carefully packed into a worn leather satchel were a few crumpled papers, a weathered notebook, and a hand-drawn map. Barron, intrigued, spread the items out on a polished mahogany desk in his study. The first thing he noticed was the desperate tone of the letters. Scrawled in a shaky hand, they spoke of betrayal, danger, and an urgent need to reveal the truth. Words like, "They're coming," and "trust no one" leapt off the page, sending a chill down Barron's spine. Whoever this man was, he had been living under immense pressure, pursued by unseen forces. The hand-drawn map, however, was the most puzzling. It depicted an area that seemed vaguely familiar, marked with cryptic notes like, "The Hollow O." A red X was scrawled in the center, indicating a specific location. Barron leaned closer, his mind racing with possibilities. What could be hidden there? Treasure? Evidence? A secret the man was willing to risk everything to protect? Barron's thoughts were interrupted by a knock at the door. Two men in sharp black suits entered, their presence commanding and their demeanor cold. "Mr. Trump," one of them said, flashing a badge. "We're with a federal agency. We need to speak with you about the man you've taken." Barron straightened, his expression calm but wary. "What's this?" The agents exchanged a glance before the second one spoke. "The man is linked to a classified investigation. He's been under surveillance for months due to his connection to sensitive information." What kind of information? Barron asked, his tone firm. I'm afraid that's classified, the first agent replied. What we can tell you is that his possession of certain documents and artifacts puts him and anyone harboring him at risk. Barron's eyes narrowed. You mean his sat? The agent stiffened. You've seen? Perhaps, Barron said cautiously. Why does it matter? Because the contents could compromise national security, the agent said. We'll need to take custody of them. Barron hesitated, glancing at the desk where the satchel's contents were partially concealed. He felt the weight of the moment pressing on. The man in his care was clearly more than he seemed, and the cryptic map hinted at a mystery that could change lives or endanger. I'm not handing over anything until I know more, Barron said, his voice steady despite the tension. He came to me for help, and I won't betray that trust lightly. The agents exchanged a look, their faces unreadable. You don't understand what you're dealing with. Maybe not, Barron replied, his jaw set. But I'll figure it out. As the agents departed, promising to return, Barron knew he had stepped into something far bigger than himself. Yet his resolve only deepened. Whatever secrets the stranger carried, Barron was determined to uncover the truth and protect the man who had brought this hidden mystery to his door. The knock at the door came early the next morning, firm and unyielding. Barron Trump stood in the grand foyer of his family's estate, his posture calm but his expression. 2 agents in dark suits entered, their sharp eyes scanning the room as though searching for hidden threat. We're here to see the man, one of them said curtly, his voice leaving no room for negotiation. He's not well enough for visitors, Barron replied, his tone steady. The lead agent stepped forward, his demeanor cold and authoritative. This isn't a request, Mr. Trump. The man in your care is a person of interest in an ongoing investigation. We need access to him. Barron didn't flinch. And I'm telling you that he's not in a condition to answer your questions. His health comes first. The room grew heavy with tension as the agents exchanged glances. You don't understand the stakes here, the second agent said, his voice low but insistent. This man is connected to classified matters that could jeopardize national security. Your interference isn't just reckless, it's dangerous. Barron's jaw tightened. What's dangerous is showing up unannounced and demanding access to someone who's barely conscious. If this is about national security, then you should have proper channels to go through. As far as I'm concerned, he's a guest under my protection. The lead agent's eyes narrowed. Do you even know who he is? No, Barron admitted. But I know he collapsed on my property, and I'm not going to let him be mistreated. As the standoff continued, a faint voice interrupted from the top of the staircase. His voice was a rasp, barely audible. Don't let them take. The agents moved toward him, but Barron raised a hand, stepping in their path. Stay back, he ordered. The man descended slowly, his knees shaking. Barron rushed to support him, guiding him to sit on a nearby bench. The agents hovered, their frustration at. Listen, the man whispered urgently, clutching Barron's arm. They don't want the truth out. It's a cover-up. Evidence in the. Barron's heart raced, but he kept his composure. What evidence? He asked softly. Documents, proof. They'll bury it. The man cried. The lead agent stepped forward. That's enough, he said sharply. Mr. Trump, you're obstructing an investigation. This isn't your Barron turned to face him, his expression resolute. It is now. You're making a mistake, the agent. Maybe, Barron replied. But I'm not handing him over until I know he's safe and until I know the truth. The agents exchanged dark looks before retreating. We'll be back, one of them promised. As they left, Barron felt the weight of their words, and the man's warning settle over him like a storm. The confrontation had made one thing clear. Whatever secrets this stranger held, they were worth fighting for. The soft clink of metal echoed in Barron Trump's study as he pulled a small rusted key from the stranger's worn leather satchel. Its surface was pitted with age, yet etched faintly across its bow was a number, 84. Barron turned the key over in his hands, his mind racing with possibilities. The stranger, still weak but alert enough to speak, sat propped up on the plush armchair nearby. His eyes, though bloodshot and heavy with exhaustion, burned with urgency. Locker 84, he rasped, his voice barely audible. What's in it? Barron asked, his tone steady, but edged with curiosity. Everything, the man whispered. The truth about them, about what they've done. He coughed, his frail body shuddering. It's the evidence they don't want found. Barron leaned forward, concern shadowing his face. Who's they? The agents? Not just them, the man said, his voice cracking. A network. Powerful people covering their tracks. The locker, it's the key to exposing them. Barron sat back, processing the man's cryptic words. The rusted key in his palm felt heavier than it should, laden with the weight of a mystery he was only beginning to unravel. He glanced at the stranger's bag, wondering what else might be hidden within it. Where is this locker? Barron asked finally. Central Station, the man replied, his words halting. In the old storage, level B. You'll need to get there before they do. A knock at the study door interrupted them. Barron quickly pocketed the key as his head of security entered. Sir, the agents are back, the man said, his tone grim. They're insisting on speaking with you. Barron's mind raced. He had to act quickly. Rising from his chair, he turned to the stranger. Stay here, he instructed. Don't answer the door for anyone but me. The man nodded weakly, his trust evident despite his fragile state. Outside in the foyer, the agents waited, their expressions stony. Barron met their gaze evenly, keeping his composure. I've already told you he's recovering. You're not getting anything until I know more about why he's here and what you're after. The second agent stepped forward, his frustration evident. This isn't a game, Mr. Trump. You're dealing with classified materials. Hand them over or face the consequences. I understand what's at stake, Barron replied coolly. But I'm not handing over anything without a court order. The agents exchanged a glance, their annoyance palpable. You're making this harder than it needs to be, the lead agent warned before turning to leave. We'll be back. As the heavy doors closed behind them, Barron exhaled, his mind already on the next step. The key to Locker 84 was more than a simple piece of metallet, was a gateway to a truth that someone was desperate to keep hidden. Barron knew what he had to do. He would go to Central Station, unlock the mystery, and face whatever secrets lay buried in the depths of Locker 84. The shadows of late afternoon crept across the Trump estate as Barron paced his study, the weight of the rusted key in his pocket a constant reminder of the stakes. The agents were relentless, their presence outside the gates unyielding. Every move he made seemed to be under scrutiny. If he was going to retrieve the evidence hidden in Locker 84, he would need help. He pulled out his phone and dialed Sophia, his closest friend and a tech prodigy. Within an hour, she arrived, her backpack brimming with gadgets and her mind already spinning with strategies. This is intense, Barron, she said, scanning the estate's security footage on her tablet. You've got at least 2 agents stationed outside and 1 more circling the perimeter. They're serious about keeping tabs on you. Barron nodded. The key leads to something they're desperate to hide. We have to get to that locker without them knowing. Sophia smirked, her fingers flying over her keyboard. Let's give them something else to focus on. Her plan was bold. Using a combination of decoy signals and hacked security feeds, she created the illusion that Barron was still inside the estate. Meanwhile, she instructed Barron to use a hidden underground exit in old maintenance tunnel that led to a side street. Once you're out, Sophia said, handing him an earpiece, I'll guide you, but stay low. They've got resources and they'll adapt fast. Barron nodded, determination stealing his features. Let's do this. As Barron slipped into the tunnel, Sophia kept watch from the estate's security room. The agents, now tracking the decoy signals, were none the wiser. Barron emerged on a quiet street, blending into the sparse evening crowd as he made his way toward Central Station. You've got a tail, Sophia's voice crackled in his ear. 2 blocks back. They're good, but I've got eyes on them. Keep moving. Barron quickened his pace, ducking into a side alley and emerging in a bustling marketplace. He swapped his blazer for a hoodie he bought from a street vendor, hoping the change would throw off his pursuers. They're hesitating, Sophia said. Nice move, but don't get cocky, they're regrouping. Barron weaved through the crowd, his focus unwavering. Central Station loomed ahead, its imposing structure bustling with commuters. He entered through a side door, avoiding the main thoroughfares. Locker 84 is on level B, Sophia guided. But be careful, there's a chance they've figured out where you're headed. Descending the stairs, Barron moved deliberately, his senses heightened. The station's lower levels were quieter, the air tinged with a sense of foreboding. Barron, Sophia's voice came urgently. "They've picked up your trail. You've got maybe 5 minutes." His pulse quickened as he spotted the bank of lockers. Locker 84 was there, its rusted surface blending with the others. He inserted the key, the lock clicking open with a satisfying turn. Inside was a small metal box, its weight suggesting something significant. "Got it," Barron whispered. "Good," Sophia replied. "Now get out fast." Barron closed the locker and slipped the box into his bag, his heart pounding. The evidence was in his hands, but the agents were closing in. The real challenge had just begun. Barron Trump darted through the bustling city streets, the weight of the small metal box in his bag pulling at his every step. He glanced over his shoulder, catching sight of the agents weaving through the crowd, their sharp suits a stark contrast to the casual attire of the city's pedestrians. They were closing in, their pace relentless, and Barron knew he couldn't afford to slow down. The train terminal loomed in the distance, its towering arches framed against the evening sky. It was a labyrinth of platforms and passengers perfect for losing pursuers, if he played it smart. With his hood pulled low, Barron ducked into a narrow alley, emerging on the other side into a crowded marketplace. "Sophia, I'm 2 blocks from the terminal," Barron whispered into the earpiece. "I see you," her voice crackled. "You've got 3 agents tailing you, one cutting across the next street. Keep left, there's a construction site you can use to slow them down." Barron veered left, slipping through a gap in a chain-link fence. The partially completed building was a maze of scaffolding and debris. He climbed quickly, his footsteps muffled by the din of the city. Behind him, he heard shouts as the agents struggled to keep up, their movements hampered by the uneven terrain. "Good work," Sophia said. "You've bought yourself some time. Exit on the west side, there's a service road that leads straight to the terminal." Barron sprinted down the road, his lungs burning as the terminal's lights came into view. He merged into the crowd at the entrance, his heart pounding as he tried to appear inconspicuous. The agents wouldn't risk drawing attention here, not in a public space filled with security cameras. Descending to level B, Barron scanned the row of lockers. Locker 84 stood at the far end, unassuming yet vital. He inserted the rusted key, his hands shaking with the lock clicked open, revealing a black case inside. He grabbed the case, quickly retreating to a quiet corner to examine its contents. Inside were several documents, a flash drive, and a photo. The picture froze him in place. A much younger version of his father stood beside the stranger, both smiling in what appeared to be a casual, friendly moment. Barron's mind raced as he stared at the photograph. His father and the stranger connected? The realization hit him like a freight train. Whatever the man was running from, it wasn't random. This was personal. Flipping through the documents, Barron saw records implicating high-ranking officials in illicit dealings, financial fraud, covert operations, and the suppression of whistleblowers. The flash drive's label read, "Contingency. Open with caution." "Barron, what's in the case?" Sophia's voice broke through his thoughts. "Proof," he murmured, "and something I didn't expect." He hesitated before adding, "The stranger knew my father." Sophia was silent for a moment before responding. "That changes everything." A dangerous path forward. The sound of footsteps echoing down the corridor jolted Barron back to the present. The agents were here. He quickly secured the items in his bag, blending into a stream of passengers heading toward the platform. "Platform 9, Sophia said in his ear. "A train leaves in 3 minutes. Take it, it'll give you a head start." Barron hurried onto the train just as the doors closed. He slumped into a seat, his breath ragged. The agents had been close, but for now, he was safe. As the train sped out of the city, Barron couldn't shake the weight of what he had discovered. His father's connection to the stranger, the evidence of corruption, and the looming threat of powerful adversaries Sid, all painted a picture of a conspiracy far larger than he had imagined. He pulled out the photograph again, studying it under the dim light of the train car. His father's easy smile in the image seemed at odds with the secretive, often stoic man Barron had grown up with. Who was the stranger to him? A friend? A foe? Or something in between? Barron knew there was no going back. The evidence in his possession could expose dangerous truths, but it also made him a target. He was entangled in a web of power, lies, and dangerous web that would tighten around him the closer he got to the truth. But Barron was his father's son. Beneath his calm demeanor was a resolve as unyielding as steel. He would uncover the conspiracy, piece by piece, no matter the cost. As the train pushed forward into the night, so did Barron, driven by a burning question. How deep did the corruption go, and how far was he willing to go to bring it to light?